Welcome to the OOV Daily Reflection for Tuesday, August 3rd. Today's Gospel passage for the Daily Mass comes to us from the 14th chapter of St. Matthew's Gospel. It reads, Jesus made the disciples get into a boat and proceed him to the other side of the sea while he dismissed the crowds. After doing so, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. When it was evening, he was there alone. Meanwhile, the boat, already a few miles offshore, was being tossed about by the waves, for the wind was against it. During the fourth watch of the night, he came toward them, walking on the sea. When the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified. "It is a ghost," they said, and they cried out in fear. At once Jesus spoke to them. "Take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid." Peter said to him in reply, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." He said, "Come." Peter got out of the boat and began to walk on the water towards Jesus. But when he saw how strong the wind was, he became frightened, and beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and caught him, and said to him, "O you of little faith, why did you doubt?" And after they got into the boat, the wind died down. Those who were in the boat did him homage, saying, "Truly you are the Son of God." After making the crossing, they came to the land at Gennesaret. When the men of the place recognized him, they sent out word to all the surrounding country. People brought to him all who were sick, and begged him that they might touch only the tassel on his cloak. And as many as touched it were healed. In today's gospel passage, we hear St. Matthew describe Peter's act of faith. The experienced fisherman got out of a perfectly good boat to walk towards Jesus because of his desire to be close to him. And this same experienced fisherman was walking on water in a way that goes beyond any experience he ever had before. So again, what a tremendous act of faith made by St. Peter. And it also had an amazing reward, because of this experience that goes beyond anything that he had before. However, we also hear in the passage that St. Peter got frightened because of the wind. And as a result, he started to doubt that what was happening to him was real, possible. In fact, he lost his focus on Jesus Christ. And once he changed this conviction, once he lost faith, he began to sink. So as St. Peter had a desire to be close to the Christ in the gospel passage today, we have to learn from this. That yes, sometimes when we want to be close to Jesus Christ, we have to make sacrifices. We have to go out on a limb. We have to do things very differently in our lives. But if we stay focused on Jesus Christ and make sure that we orient our lives to being close to him, nothing can stand in our way. In fact, being focused on Christ changes everything in our lives. Because as a disciple of Christ, nothing else matters. Nothing else is important. We just truly walk towards Christ and let him and his grace do the rest. So the problem of our lives is, how do we stay focused on Jesus Christ even when we have the right desire? And this is a tough problem because there are many distractions in our life. There's many things that compete for our time and energy. And brothers and sisters, much of the solution to this problem is a basic reality of our lives. We need good routines because our faith lives have to be based upon the good routines of going to church, dedicating time for prayer each day, serving others, growing in our faith, so that these routines, these virtuous acts, can help us to stay focused on Jesus Christ in the midst of living in this world. Because as I mentioned already, there's plenty of distractions. But again, the challenge is, how do we make sure we stay focused on Christ, even though we know that there'll be distractions, there'll be things that occupy our time. so we can stay focused on Christ. Now, with all that being said, there is another important reality that we need to acknowledge. That those of us who do not have good routines, those of us who are struggling with faith, and those of us who seem we can't get our lives turned around, we go back to this gospel passage and remember that Jesus is offering his hand to us to literally pull us out of these situations and to start anew. So don't ever despair and don't give up. Again, we want to keep our eyes and our hearts and our minds focused on Jesus Christ. Build up the routines, build up the lifestyle of discipleship so that we're constantly walking towards him. But again, if we ever do struggle, Jesus is right there to help us, assist us, and pull us back into his grace. Our Lady of Victory, pray for us.